Hi guys, thanks for joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So my name is Vera if we haven't met before, and I will be your instructor for today. And this is what we're gonna draw. We're gonna draw our Easter bunny. Super fun. I have my image here, but also I'm gonna put this one aside and you guys can be referring to this one so we can see the drawing that I'll be doing today better. But I will be showing this one every now and then as well, just to point out a couple of details. Now let's go through all our supplies to make sure we have everything that we need for today. But actually, before we do that, I just want to mention one little thing, and that this is a video recording. So it's not live event, this is a video recording. You can come back anytime, you can rewind it, you can pause it. I'm gonna be going at my comfortable speed, but you guys go at the speed that's comfortable for you. And make sure you pause the video to give yourself enough time for every single step. And then you can resume it whenever you're ready and continue drawing along. And also you're welcome to, rewind it and rewatch it as many times as you want. It's not going to expire. It's going to stay right here on our YouTube channel. So you can come back and do it any day as well. All right, back to our supplies. The first thing you're going to need is a regular HB pencil because we will start with an outline and we're going to do our outline with an HB pencil. Second thing that you're going to need is a paper towel just to rest your hand on it so we don't rub oils from our hand into our paper and so we don't smudge our pencil once we get things going, once we have a few lines on our paper already. Okay, and then you're gonna need an eraser, of course, and some sort of sharpener. Good to have. And let's look through our colors. So everything that we will need as far as colors. So here are the colors that I recommend, but of course you guys are welcome to use any different colors. You don't even have to stick with the same color scheme that I have. You can switch the color of the hat, you can switch the color of the egg, you can switch the color of the bunny slippers, you can switch the color of the flowers around our bunny. You can switch every single color here again. So this is just my suggestion. This is what I will be using, but you guys modify it however you want. So the first color I'm going to start with is going to be yellow. Any yellow will do. This is the yellow that I'm using here. I'm going to put it right here on top just so you can see it better. That's my yellow. Put it aside. Second color that I'm gonna need here is a color for skin tone. So basically for the nose and for the little hands, you use any color you want. I'm using this very peach looking color. So it's like a light coral or peach color. But of course you're welcome to use any color that you want. This is what my color looks like. And I'm going to put it aside for now. Then I'm going to use two different shades of pink. So in my case, I have a nice pink that's a bit on the lighter side. It's not super light, but it's not it's not a hot pink either. It's a vibrant pink, but it still is a bit on the lighter side. So this is what it looks like. See, not a super light one, not a baby pink, but on the lighter side for sure. And I have this super, super vibrant pink that's almost like borderline purple. Uh-oh. Well, I guess we'll start by sharpening this one. This is very beautiful color. And it keeps breaking. Oh my goodness. Hate when that happens, but it is what it is. We'll just deal with it, I guess. Alright. I'm not going to sharpen it anymore. I just want to show the color for now, and then we'll sharpen it once we get there. Once we get to using it. Okay, great. So this is the color. Do you see? It's super, super hot pink, but it's a bit on a darker side. It's not just a hot pink. It's like a hot pink with almost like a tint of purple and just, just a bit deeper than a hot pink. But again, any 2 shades of pink will do, just lighter and a darker one. And then I'm gonna use 3 shades of blue. And in my case, my first 2 shades are a bit more on a teal side. So one is lightest. Second one is a little bit darker. Oh, sorry. The other way around, guys. The lightest one, a little bit darker. So this one is a little more blue. This one is a little bit more teal. And then a really dark blue. So this one is not teal, it's just a dark blue. Any shade of dark blue will do. It doesn't matter whether it's more purple, more greenish, don't matter. So again, just 3 different shades of blue, lightest, medium, and darkest. In my case, those are both fairly light, but this one is the lightest. This one is a touch darker, and this one is like a blue, and this one is more of teal. And I'll put them aside as well. And the last 2 colors that I'm going to use is 2 shades of green. You're more than welcome to use more than 2. If you have more than 2, great. By the way, if you don't have 3 shades of blue, that's okay. 2 shades is more than enough. It's plenty. You can just do light and dark, and that would be great as well. So here are my 2 shades of green. So just light green and darker green. This one is not a dark green at all. It's actually more like a medium green, maybe even medium light, but it's the darker of the 2. So this is the color scheme that I will be using, but again, you guys are free to change things around, do whatever works for you. All right, I'll put them aside. And now that we know all ours, oh, sorry guys, we're forgetting one supply, and that is a Q-tip. So grab just a few Q-tips, 1, 2, 3, totally up to you. You may or may not need them. I will show you what to do with them, but it's up to you to decide whether you want to use them or not. So if for whatever strange reason your house doesn't have Q-tips, that's all right. You can still do this without Q-tips, not a problem. Alrighty guys, and the first thing that we're gonna do here is we're gonna start with our sketch. So I would say sketch is actually the trickiest part out of all of this. But the good news is we're starting with a regular HB pencil, which is so easy to erase if something goes wrong. So don't aim to, do it right from the first try. You can always have a couple tries before you arrive at where you want it to be. There is no need to do everything from one line and be perfect. Do it how you can, and then sit with it and adjust it and work on it more, and only move to coloring part once you're happy with your sketch. So again, we'll work on it for as long as needed before we actually move to coloring. So what I'm going to start with here is I'm going to start with putting one line in the middle. Now this is optional, but I do always recommend it when we sketch something vertical, especially something that should be sort of symmetrical. Like he's not totally symmetrical, but there is a bit of symmetry with like mustache and hands and legs. So I always like having that middle line. So we're just gonna put one vertical line right in the middle. If you need to grab a ruler to do that, you can do that. I think I'm pretty good at just freehanding it. So I'm just going to freehand it. But again, if you prefer to do it with a ruler, go for it. I don't see why not. And now that I have my line and I'm happy with it, I'm going to use that again for the symmetry and make sure that my gnome doesn't end up tilted one way or the other. Alrighty, and next thing that I'm going to position is a nose. Nose is going to be just little oval, like a potato, like a little potato. And where I'm going to position it, it really is up to you. You can go with the very middle of your paper. You can go a bit higher than that. You can go a bit lower than that. It depends how much of a head you want versus the body. When I originally made it, I positioned it a bit higher than the middle. So if the middle of my paper is right here, when I originally made it, I positioned it a bit higher. But now that I added this all section here, I will probably go with the middle this time because I kind of ate off a piece from my top. So either is fine. You just may end up with having a little bit more or a little bit less space on top or the bottom. So I'm going to go with my middle. I'm just going to position this tiny little potato of a nose in the middle, and we can always make it bigger or smaller too, because when you just start sketching, and that goes for any drawing or painting, whatever you're sketching for, when you just start sketch, you really are guessing where to position things. Oh, and what size they're supposed to be. You really don't know. It's once you position everything, then you can look in a proportion to the other elements, whether it's too small or too big, too low or too high. But when you just start, there's no point of reference. You don't have anything else to compare to see whether it's the right size or not. So it's okay. You will likely go back and adjust it when you've done everything, and that's all right. Okay, so we have this, and next thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna position my head. So I wanna know the width of my head, and I'm gonna add the curvature of my head. So my head is gonna start not at the top of my nose, but a little bit lower. So I'm gonna add two curved lines to the sides. Now, how wide your head is going to be, again, is entirely up to you. It can be wider, it can be more narrow, totally up to you. So I think, again, I will go with something like that. And then I'm gonna curve it up and add another line here. And again, I might go back and adjust the size of it once we position other things, so I have some sort of point of reference to know what to compare it to. And from here, I'm just going to add the shape of my head. So I would say not from the very sides, from somewhere right here. Just going to go up, 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 curve it, something like this. This is the shape that I want to do, but of course, you're welcome to do any shape that you think would work best for you or no. Okay, I think I'm gonna make my head a little bit more narrow because it's kind of turning out a bit too wide. I can tell that already. I'm just gonna make it a touch more narrow. Oh yeah. Now this is, I like that. That looks good to me. Found a shape I like, and I'm gonna erase the rest. Happy, happy, happy. And I'm gonna add a little pom-pom on the end of the hat, the very tip of the hat. And you can make the pom-pom in any shape that you want. If you want to go fancy, you can make, a particular shape. You can make it heart, star, circle, I don't know, whatever works for you guys. Yay, hat. Hats are nice. I like hats. Alrighty, now I'm gonna move on to the rest of my Nomi. And next thing that I'm gonna add is going to be a mustache. And for a mustache, I mean, you can make mustache any shape. You can make them a zigzaggy mustache like this. That is a cool mustache, actually, may I say. You can make them a wavy mustache. They're endless possibilities. I think I'm gonna stick with the original just because, I mean, it's not fair to you guys if I completely modify everything in here and it's gonna end up looking like completely different gnome. But please feel free to experiment. Don't feel like you have to have the same shape as me. Do whatever shape works for you. And even though you're looking for somewhat symmetry, and by that I mean generally similar size, you don't want one massive and another one half of that size. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. You can curve one more than the other. It actually would be cute if it's like playfully not perfectly symmetrical. So yeah, there's no need to have it to have a perfect symmetry. A little asymmetrical playfulness is great. All right, awesome. I have my mustache and now I'm gonna move on to the rest of my body. So I kind of want to add my beard first, the legs and hands, and only then I'm gonna position an egg, because otherwise what can happen here is you will add hands, egg, and then you're gonna run out of space for the legs. So you kind of want to add the beer next, because beer almost determines how far he's gonna go, then the legs, and only then hands and egg, because you can go with hands higher, you can go with hands lower. There are a lot of things you can play with when it comes to where to position the hands. All right, so I would say I'm gonna position my beard and I'm gonna go until about here. This is gonna be the bottom of my beard, and then my legs are gonna end somewhere here, and this is gonna be my empty space. I'm happy with this amount. So with my beard, I'm gonna start, you can start around, do you see where the head ends kinda? Or a bit before that or a bit after, but approximately somewhere around there. Just gonna bring it down, down, down. And then something very similar on the other side. All right, awesome. And now I'm gonna add my legs. So they're gonna start at approximately, so if you count the beard from here to here, so at about halfway through of your beard, you're just gonna add two curved lines that are slightly curved towards the outside. And then we're gonna add the bunny slippers. So I decided that this is gonna be the middle bottom, right? So my bunny slippers are gonna be two fuzzy potatoes. Two fuzzy potatoes. So one fuzzy potato. This one is going to be a second fuzzy potato. Two fuzzy potatoes. And then to those, actually I wouldn't add ears yet. Let's just sketch everything else, large elements, and then we'll do ears. Ears are small elements. So we have two fuzzy potatoes. Great. Now let's move on to our egg and hands. And I will say I'll position my egg next. So just somewhere right here. You decide how big or small you want your egg. That's our egger. And Now we're going to position our arms. So I'm going to do, from, do you see where mustache is? I'm going to bring, whoop, whoop, 2 curves, and then another curve, and I'm going to add a little border, pretty much similar to what I have on my hat. And then a little, almost like a mitt. Ta-da! He's holding the egg. Let's get rid of any small, underneath lines. Actually, make my hands a little bit bigger. They just look a little too small, I think. Make this one bigger, bigger. Oh yeah, this is a better hand. You know, guys, I really regret making my hat smaller. I think that the size that I had before was actually better. Silly me. It's okay. I'll fix it. That's what all art is all about. It's you do something and then you love it or you don't love it, and then you redo it, and then you may love it or not love it, and then you may redo it again. Just never ending cycle. You know, until you sign it, and then it ends. Then it's an end of a cycle. Yep, right exactly where my first line was. I am a silly goose, what can I say? It's alright. I can live with that. Okay, and bunny ears. That's what I want to add next. And I'm gonna add one big and fluffy ear on the left. So I'm just gonna add it lightly for now, because I'm gonna fluff it up in a second. So I just want to find the shape first. I want to know the right shape before I actually go on to details and start fluffing it up. So I think this shape is quite good. At least I like it. And then let's add our second one. So it's going to start very similar to the first one. Go up, 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 but then instead of going all the way up, it's going to go curve to the side here. It's going to do a little dip. It's going to curve here too. All right, let's erase the underneath lines. We don't want to see them. Now let's add this inner line, the pink fluff line. All right, that's pretty good. And now I'm gonna erase this. So I'm gonna erase the outline. And what I wanna do is I'm gonna sketch it back, but fluffy, because it's supposed to be fluffy name. So I don't need that straight line at all. The same actually with middle line. So I'm gonna lighten it up. I'm gonna sketch it fluff, fluff. All right, and I have most of my major elements sketched. So the only other thing that, actually let's erase this line too, we don't need it anymore. The only other major element that I'm still missing is my bunny ears. The rest are small decorative elements such as flowers at the back. I'm not even going to sketch them, by the way. I'm just going to leave them unsketched. But what I will sketch though is a design on my egg, which is not a major element, but it's just a decorative element, and you can do anything that you want, but I will sketch it. And I'll sketch the design on my bunny slippers, but let's start with ears. So I'm just going to give each of my bunny slippers an ear, and they can be big or small, that's totally up to you. That looks good to me. Alright, and I'm gonna give them a little heart nose and a tiny little eye for my egg here. So originally I made lines this way. You could do that. Again, you can do anything you want. This time I think I'm gonna add dots. I think I'm just gonna do dots this time. Why not? I don't want to do the exact same thing. Just add any design that you want on your egg, or maybe I'll do some dots and some stripes. Yeah, this looks good. I'll do that. Just to make it a little more interesting, it's gonna have 2 stripes and some dots. That looks good to me. Alright, and that's pretty much our sketch. I don't think I want to be sketching anything else here, but there is something that I'm gonna do before moving to my color pencils, and that would be I will actually lighten up my sketch. And I'm not gonna lighten it up too much because I want you guys to be able to see it. If I were just doing it for myself and I wasn't doing it as a tutorial, I would lighten it up probably to like this degree, to like very, very light, because I personally am not a big fan of seeing the dark outline once we're done. I prefer not to see it. But again, it's a personal preference. If you actually like that contrast look and having the dark outline on everything, then keep the dark lines. You don't have to erase them at all. You can go dark or even darker than this. Or you can even grab, a Sharpie in the end and outline it, or you can grab a gel pen or a black pencil and outline it that way. That's totally fine too. It's just not my personal preference. Actually, I forgot to tell you, we will still need a black pen. Not a pen, black pencil regardless. So let me grab a black pencil as well. Got that one. My black pencil is tiny, but it's okay. I have another set of just black pencils because this one is, as you can see, the most used out of my pencils, I guess. Alright, so I'm going to lighten up all my sketch lines, but again, as I mentioned earlier, that is a preference. If you don't want to lighten up your sketch lines, don't. It's totally fine. There's no need other than preference. And I'm not going to lighten up mine as much as I would personally prefer to. Again, because this is a tutorial and I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. I want you still to be able to see my outline. So I'm just gonna lighten it up lightly. They're not crazy dark, but they're not gonna be as light as I would have preferred them to be as well. All right, and after this we can move to our coloring. And it doesn't really matter where you start for this particular drawing. I personally like starting with my outfit. And again, for my outfit, I'm gonna use my 3 blue pencils. So I have my 3 blue pencils. And I'm going to build from light to dark. So I'm going to start with my lightest one, which I believe is this one, even though it's so confusing. I'll tell you why. So you see this one is definitely lighter than that, right? So you would think this one would be the lightest, but this one is actually lighter, insert itself, than this one, which is confusing. I think they actually messed up and they put the wrong, I think they were supposed to do it the opposite way. Anyway, don't matter, it's fine. So this is my lightest, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, that is my lightest one. So I'm going to sharpen it a bit because it's not very sharp right now. Oh yeah, now we're talking. And I'm going to start coloring my hat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color from the edge in, and I'm going to use my pencil pretty flat here. So you're going to start with whatever color you decide with. Just grab a lighter version of that. So I'm going to start by using it kind of flat and making a little gradient. You're going to color the whole hat, by the way. You're not leaving any complete white areas. You're just coloring it the middle pretty lightly. So this middle thing, you're coloring very lightly, and you're coloring a bit darker as you go toward closer to the edge. And again, notice how I'm holding my pencil not this way, but this way, so the larger section of the insert touches my paper, not just the very tip. Alright, so this is my first layer, and you see it's a bit darker to the edges, a bit lighter in the middle, and the same thing I'm going to do on this part as well. Alright, and now I'm just going to grab my Q-tip and I'll smudge all of that. Smudgy, 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 starting with the very middle, because I always like starting with the lightest part so you don't drag all the darkness, because your Q-tips will get contaminated with the color, right? Especially when you go to the darker sections. And sometimes I don't want to drag that darkness in my light sections because I don't want to get them darker. I intentionally kept them light, and I would like to keep them that way, right? So I smudged all of that, and what smudging with a Q-tip will do, it will create more even underlay. I always like smudging on the first layer, sometimes on the first two layers, because it just evens up that undertone. And because the paper that I use, it's drawing paper usually with quite a bit of texture, so sometimes when you, not sometimes, always really, if you use that paper, when you draw, your pencil wouldn't really penetrate all the way down your paper. You will see that texture, so it will only cover the surface, right? So you'll see the little gaps, which I love. I love that texture. I use it again intentionally, but to get it all the way down and give it a bit more even undertone on the first layers, it's always good to Q-tip. All right, and now I'm gonna do the same thing with the rest of my clothes, with the hands, with the legs, and so on. So we're gonna do a little gradient from the outside in. So we're gonna cover all of them, but lightly, and we're gonna do a little gradient from the outside in. So here I'm doing, you see, from the outside in. Here the same, with a bit of a focus more on the bottom than on the top. So you see I'm keeping the top a bit lighter than the bottom. Remember, this is just your first color. We still have 2 more colors to go. So this one is more of like a base setter. And I'm actually excited to see what colors you guys choose. Maybe I will see some bunny gnomes, Easter gnomes, in some different colors. Maybe some of you will do them not in blue. Alright, and now we'll add that a little gradient from the outside in here, and from the beard down. And I'll darken up around the bunny a little bit too. And again, I'll go back and I'll smudge all of that, and I'll use the same edge of a Q-tip. So I'll start with my light sections, and then I'll move to a slightly darker ones. Okay, I feel like I don't have enough on the head now in comparison to the body, so let's add a bit more, because there is no reason why we wouldn't. And of course, guys, take your time. If you need to pause it, please do that. Don't rush through it. Enjoy the experience. It's meant to be enjoyed, not rushed through. All right, I like it. Quickly smudge that too. Great, I will still use this pencil for my beard and the bunny ears. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sharpen it and I'll put it aside, because I'll need it sharp when I use it next. It's not the sharpest anymore. So let's sharpen it, put it aside to wait its turn. And then we're gonna move to our second shade here. All right. And my second shade is gonna be that teal color, so that slightly darker blue with more teal undertone. And again, sharpened up a bit. Don't like dull pencils, not my favorite. Wouldn't recommend. I mean, for this part, it doesn't really matter because you're covering such a large areas that you could use a dull pencil. It's not gonna be bad. It's just I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. And we're just gonna repeat the same thing. It's just this time the difference is you don't have to cover the whole thing. Like you don't have to go flat all over. It's more like you're creating a gradient from the edge in. So we're just starting to build intensity around our edge and building it and bringing it in. You see the difference? This is without it, this is with, because I just layered it on, right? So it just brings so much more brightness and beauty and color. Here I am coloring the whole thing because it's such a small area. There's no need for me to leave this uncolored middle. It's totally fine. All right, and let's continue. Now, whether you want to smudge it or not is totally up to you. I will smudge only closer to the middle here. I'm not going to smudge closer to the edge. And you're going to use fresh side of a Q-tip. Don't use the same one. Well, I mean, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend grabbing a fresh side. And I'll just smudge the middles. I'm not going to smudge closer to the edge. All right. Yeah, so this is with teal added, this is with no teal added. Just more vibrant color. And now I'm gonna move to my bottom. All right, and again, I'll just smudge it with the same side that I did here, but only closer to the middle. I'm not gonna smudge the edge. And another thing I want to do before I move to my last blue color is I'm actually gonna grab my eraser. I'm gonna clean up the edge. So while I was coloring in and smudging, if it got outside my lines anywhere, either as like a little shadow from smudging or as a line, I want to clean it up before I moved on my last blue. So looks good. And again, I'll sharpen this up because I will need it again for here and here for a couple areas. So let's sharpen it and put it aside. So it's good to go whenever we need it. All right, great. And I'm gonna move to my last blue. which is my darkest blue, and again we'll sharpen it because we will need this one sharp actually. All right, looks good. And we're gonna add, so you're gonna add like a sharp outline. You can do it on everything or just choose a couple spots. It doesn't have to be even. Some areas can be darker, some areas can be lighter. So you see, I added a bit darker here, a bit lighter here, a bit darker here, and then I'm gonna just lightly, not lightly, sorry, that's the wrong word. Not lightly, appropriately, but not too far. I'm gonna make a little gradient going in. It's not gonna be lightly, actually. I'm pushing on my pencil pretty hard. But what I meant is I'm not bringing it too far in. I'm not going too far down because I don't want to color and fully cover up my other colors that are so beautiful. And I do want to see them. This is why I'm not gonna go too crazy far with this one. So it should stay pretty close to the outline so you can still see all your other beautiful colors. And just continue adding it until you feel like you had enough and then stop. All right, that looks really good to me. I might just darken up a little bit somewhere on the edge, but other than that, it looks amazing. Pretty happy with it. Uh-oh. Shoot, it's all right. Happens to pencils sometimes. They break. All right, and when you feel like you have enough, you can either Q-tip or not Q-tip. Totally up to you. For me personally, again, I'm gonna grab a fresh side. And there are only a couple spots that I want to Q-tip, and the only reason why, I feel like it's a little bit too linear. Like I feel like I can still see the line. Do you see? I don't like seeing the line there. So wherever you feel like there needs to be a bit more smudging, you're welcome to assist yourself with a Q-tip. But generally, I wouldn't go close to my outline because outline you want a bit more visible and dark, so I wouldn't do it there. But if they're anywhere closer to the middle or inside, there needs to be a Q-tip and go for it. And of course, if you need to clean up around, if it got anywhere around, grab your eraser and just clean it up. And then we're going to move on to the rest of those blue areas, and we'll do pretty much the same thing. All right, that's great. And the bottom. All right, and let's see, maybe I will Q-tip just a touch, again in a couple spots, only wherever I feel like it needs a bit more blending, but really not much. Awesome, I love how this 3-color blue looks like. Super beautiful color, or at least, again, to my personal preference. I love it, love it, love it. All right, and now I'm gonna move on to my beard, and so all the white elements, so basically mustache, beard, ears, fluff ball, all those white elements. And the colors that I'm going to use there is going to be a little bit of yellow, all 3 of my blues, and black. So 3 blues, yellow, and black. And the first color that I want to start here is going to be actually black, and we're going to use it super, super lightly because we want to add some gray, right? So it's just going to be, I'm going to go very, very lightly around the edge here. Just add the tiniest little, almost like a hairlines. Let me show you guys closer what I mean. You see they're almost like a hairlines. So just makes it light and gray and hairy. That's what you want. Same with this pom-pom. Light and gray and hairy. And some hairiness here, furriness. And so I have the ears. You guys could smudge them, but you don't have to, so I would leave that up to you. If you want to smudge them, if not, don't. I don't think personally I want to smudge them. I like that hairiness there because it makes it look more fluffy, more, furry. I prefer that. So I wouldn't, but you could if you wanted to. If you feel like it's a little too harsh and you want it a little softer, you can smudge it as well. And then I'm going to move to my mustache, and I'm going to start by adding a couple super light lines from the nose out. I'll show you again closer in a second how light they are and what that looks like close up. This is super light ones. I may add a few more. This is pretty much what you're looking for. And this ones I will actually smudge. So I'll add them, and before I move any further, I'll grab again fresh side of a Q-tip or fresh Q-tip, so you don't drag any other color in there. Just smudge them. Right, and then I'm gonna go around the edge with this hairy lines, and this ones I'm not gonna smudge. This ones are gonna stay that hairy texture. And here you can go a little bit darker, especially on the bottom. Keep the top light because we're gonna add a bit more different colors here, but on the bottom you can add some darker ones, but still I would say start with the lighter ones because we can always add the darker ones later too. We're so not in rush for adding darker ones. Darker ones can be added at any point, but you don't want to add them too early on and then, kind of fill that area too much with the dark ones, so you're not going to have any space for the lighter ones. And then I'm going to go into the beard, and I'll do some flicks from the top down, some lines from the top down. Nice and light and hairy. Do you want to smudge them? I mean, it's up to you. You can smudge them if you want to. I like it like this. Again, I like my hairiness here, so I probably wouldn't. Maybe I'll smudge just around the egg. Let's do that. Smudge just around the egg. At the top I'll keep. Yeah, that was a good decision. Happy with it, pleased. Just a little bit around here so it doesn't look completely empty. And now I'm gonna add darker spots. So I'm gonna sharpen up my pencil a bit to make sure it's nice and sharp. And now I'm gonna add just a couple darker ones here. maybe a couple lines down as well. And now I'm gonna go closer to the edge here. I'll do the edge. Right, and while I'm at it, I'm gonna add a bit of black around here too, just like a little contrast on the darkest parts of my jacket, just like a little bit. It doesn't have to be too much, and you don't even have to do it at all. This is super optional, but I don't see why not. I'll just add a little bit. Again, I'm not adding outline everywhere. I'm not treating it like an outline. I'll add some around the nose too. And here I'll darken up right here too, just a little bit darker. And right here. All right, there's still a couple areas where I'm going to be adding black, but I'm going to put it aside for now. And I'm going to move on to my blues. You could use all three blues, or you can use just two of them, or just one. Doesn't matter. I will use all three. So I'm going to start with my lightest one, and I'm just going to add closer to where it connects to my blue, just a little touch to make it look like reflection, because white is a very reflective color. It does reflect, it kind of picks up everything around it, so it would be picking that up a bit. So that's my first one. Then my second one. And my last one. Oh, shoot. Forgot the top one. All right, and something very similar on my beard. Sorry, not the beard, the mustache. Beard, I don't need to because it's not a lot of it and it's like all at the back. But the mustache, this section is where I'm going to add it, but you can also bring it a little bit here too. So again, starting with my first color, just a bit here and a little bit here. Of course, beard, like you could add in there, it's just not really necessary, but if you feel like it would look good or if you have a bit more beard than what I do, for sure. There's nothing wrong with adding some of the beard as well. So first color, then second color. And then my last color. All right, awesome. So I'm gonna put aside my blues again. And I'm gonna grab my yellow now. And with my yellow, I'm gonna add a little highlight right here. And a little highlight here. It doesn't have to be too dark, you can do it quite light. And just a bit on my mustache. Try not to overlap your blues too much. If you overlap your blues a little bit, it's not a big deal, but don't intentionally go right over them. I would say try to go in the areas that don't have too much blue. So right here is great for me because it doesn't have too much blue. And just a little highlight, again, it's because of the reflection of the sun. All right, and I'm gonna move next on to, let's move on to the skin tone. So I'm just gonna grab that peach color and I'm just gonna gradient from the outside in. So I'm gonna go pretty dark around this outline and then I'm gonna create a gradient going in. All right, done. Super simple. The same with the mitts. Pretty dark towards the outline and then gradient towards going in. Now it's up to you guys whether you want to smudge it or not. If you want to, go ahead, Q-tip it. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Those are fairly small elements, so they don't necessarily require Q-tipping, but if it looks good to you to Q-tip them, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, and then I'm gonna move on to my pink element. So I'm gonna put my skin tone aside. I call it skin tone, but really it's more like a peach color. It could be skin tone, but any color you want to use. Right, now it's time to sharpen this one properly, and let's hope it doesn't break again. Oh, it did. Boo. That's like 4 times in a row. Not a fan. Five times in a row. Well, maybe the next one is a charm. Alright, so I'm not going to sharpen it too much. I'm afraid at this point. I have PTSD from breaking pencil. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one, but generally you do want it sharp. Okay, so I'm going to grab this lighter pink, and I'm just going to start by adding a bit of fluffiness to this outline here, quite lightly on the right side and a bit darker on the left. Then I'm going to add a little gradient from the left in. And now I'm gonna add darker line from the bottom up. Okay, so this is a really good base. My left one is done. And then I'll repeat pretty much the same steps on my right one. Alright, and then let's color in our little bunnies with the same color. So the same pretty much thing. I'm gonna do gradient from outside in and a little line in the middle of the ears. So I'm gonna do outline on the ears quite fluffy. Fluffy, fluffy, fluffy. And then a little gradient from the outside in. And then a little line. Alright, that's one. Two. And again, fluffy outline on slippers. And then a little gradient from the outside in for the coloring. All right, that is done. And now I'm gonna put this pencil aside. I'm actually gonna sharpen it to have it ready for our flowers. Awesome. And I'm gonna grab my darker one and I'm just gonna add a bit of contrast here. So I'm gonna start from the bottom up. Now I'm gonna darken up just a little bit where it needs to be darker. So I'm gonna darken up a touch here, maybe a bit on the bottom here, maybe even a bit on the bottom on the other side too. And pretty much the same thing on the other side. Great. And then I'm gonna do similar thing with our slippers. So I'm almost gonna add a little outline. Pretty much everything, wherever you feel like it should have a little more contrast, because this is all it does, it adds a little bit more contrast. And I'll color in that little nose, that little heart nose. Done, done, and done. So now we're gonna start coloring in our egg. Originally I made it yellow and this color, so strips of yellow and pink, and then I shaded it a bit from the sides in pink and just added a smidge of black outline. Now I kind of want to switch up my colors this time. I think maybe I'll do green. Maybe I'll do light green. What should I do? Light green and peach maybe? Should I do these two colors? No, that's Hans colors. Okay, let's not do that. Maybe we'll do that. Yes, and yellow. Let's do this. This looks like a good combo, right? So I'm gonna do pink dots, light yellow background, and yellow strips. Because again, why not? Let's experiment with it. I made different design on the egg. I'll color it different. So you're gonna add whatever design you want on your egg in whatever colors you want it to be. That's my pink. I'm gonna do this 2 strips in yellow. That's my yellow. And the rest I'm gonna do in light green. Alright, so I colored it in, but it doesn't have any shape as you can see, right? It just looks flat. So what you're gonna do, the color that is like the base of it or the darkest one out of all of them. So for me the base is green. Like again, on the original one I used that dark pink one because I was darker of the two. So here my darker one is green, but I don't think I can get much more out of it as far as intensity. So what I'm gonna do, I'll get whatever I can and darken up the edge a little bit to make my egg look a bit more circular, like rounder. But now that I'm running out of intensity, I'm gonna switch to actually darker green. I'm just gonna add a bit of a darker green, like a little gradient from the edge in. Just again to give it that rounder shape. Notice I'm shading right over my pinks and everything else. For this one, for the gradient, for the rounder shape, I'm not avoiding anything. I'm just shading right over it. Alright, and then I'm just even gonna grab a touch of black. I'm just gonna add a bit of black around here, around the mid, and then a bit on the edge. And I'll shade the sides just a touch. Just so lightly. So you see I'm not going too far in with that. Alright. I think I'm okay with this. I like it. I'll keep it. I don't think I want to be adding anything else to my egg. And now what's left for me is my background. So what you're going to do is you're going to start, so do you remember how I have my 2 green? So I'm going to start with my lighter green. And I'm going to start adding pieces of grass. So I'm right-handed, so left side is always a bit harder for me than the right side because I'm right-handed. So I'm going to start with the harder part and then work my way to the easier part, but also yeah, it's better that way, because then if I start here and go here, I'm going to be positioning my hand right over areas that I need to see. So I'm just going to add a couple of pieces of tall grass here. They're going to be a little bit wider on the bottom and thinner on top, and you can wrap them in any shape. So I'm going to do this shape. You see, like a little curved one. Again, wider where they grow from. So 1, 2, as many as you want. A couple, maybe smaller ones here too. And some of a different shape on the top. Alright, now I need to kind of repeat all of that onto the other side. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing at all. As long as it's generally similar, like it looks like he's in the same spot, in the same grass, the exact shapes and sizes don't have to be the same. Again, it would be quite cute actually if they're not, if they're like intentionally asymmetrical. So that's okay too. All right, awesome. And I'm gonna put this one aside now. Again, I'll sharpen it just because I don't like putting my pencils aside not sharpened. Even though I'm not gonna be using this one again, likely I don't need to be using it again. I may if I decide that I don't have enough of something, but generally I don't need to. So I'll just, oh boy, another breaker. Okay, doing that on the side, and I'm gonna grab my darker green, and I'm gonna add a layer of my darker green on a couple of those, not all of them, but a few. You can add a couple extras too. Again, totally up to you on to how many you added. And if you guys want to be extra fancy, you can even continue adding shades of green. The more shades of green you add there, the more realistic it will look in the end, and the more interesting it will look too. So if you have a nice set of pencils that has more shades of green, by all means continue adding shades of green. Nothing wrong with many shades of green. Alright, I'm happy with this amount of green, so I'm going to put this one aside. And I'm going to grab just a tiny touch of dark blue. Did you remember that dark blue we used? I'll just add a touch of that too. Not because I don't have more shades of green, I actually do have lots more shades of green, but to keep it simple, not to, you know, expect you guys to have lots more. If you have them, great, but if not, we already used this blue, so it's already in our set for this painting, right? So for the sake of simplicity, to add another shade of green, actually, I'm gonna use my blue, because it just creates, once you lay it over your existing greens, it just creates darker green. Awesome. And let's put it aside as well. And now I'm gonna add all kinds of flowers. So originally what I did is I added some yellow ones on top. They can be any shapes. I'm just gonna do like a little fluffs. A couple little fluffs. I don't want to overdo it. I'll just add a few. You see almost they're like going in a row. This is what I'm doing here, but if you want more traditional flowers that actually look like flowers, totally fine. Go for it. Do whatever works for you. We're just decorating it. I'll do the rows of fluff. Alright, that's my yellow fluff. I'm happy with my yellow fluff. I'll put my yellow aside, and now I'm gonna use my two pinks, and I'm gonna add what looks like almost like berries, but really it's probably flower buds. So again, a row with the middle being the biggest, and then getting smaller closer to the edge and smaller closer to the other side too. That's one. I will add the same one here in the same color. So again, so they're not completely symmetrical. And I'm gonna add this line almost like of beads right here in a darker red, and maybe right here as well. And now a couple flowers wherever you want to, and of any shape that you want them to be. I'm gonna go with more traditional looking flowers this time, but guys, whatever works for you. Now with flowers, wherever your imagination takes you. Alright, and after that we're going to add just a little bit more black to a couple sections. So I'm going to put all those aside except of black, and I'm going to start adding a smidge of black. So I'll add a smidge more black on my outline here, just like a couple flicks. I'm not going all around. I'll add a flick of black in here, just a small one too. Maybe a little bit more black around the nose. We're just adding that touch of contrast anywhere where you would think our drawing is going to benefit from it. That's where we're going to add it. Definitely the eyes for our bunnies. Maybe even a bit more black separating that grass in the thick of that green. And then I'm going to add a bit of shade / shadow on the floor here. So I'm just going to add a light outline here to our bunnies on the bottom of them. Then I'm just going to shade all that like a little gradient from the outline out. And then last thing you guys have to do is sign it because we are officially done. This is exciting. So once you have all of this beauty, you go ahead and you put your name or your initials or your signature, anything that you want. I'm going to put my initials right here. And you can sign it too, especially if you do this quite regularly and plan to do it for maybe years to come. Please sign it because then you can look back at your older drawings and and paintings, any kind of creations, and you can see how much you've grown through the years. So yes, feel free to do that. And that's it, guys. We are officially done. Now, please, please feel free to share your results. I would love to see how they turned out. I want to see all the cute little decorations on our ink, all the different colors, and all the mustache shapes and all the flowers that you had at the back. I'm just super excited and look forward to seeing some of them, guys. So feel free to share. You can do this by taking a photo and you can post them on in our Facebook group. There's a link in the description of the video to our Facebook group where we encourage everyone to share their results, and you can see how other people did it as well, which is the most fun part. I promise you it's a fun part. You want to see that, or at least I do. I really do. And if you guys new to our channel and this is your first time drawing with us, welcome. I'm glad you joined. I'm glad you made it to the end. Feel free to subscribe. We have lots more videos here already, but also coming every week. There's at least one in some medium. It's not always drawing. Sometimes it's acrylic, sometimes it's watercolor, sometimes drawing. Always different medium, but at least one new free tutorial here on YouTube every week, at least one. And of course, if you guys really enjoyed doing this with me and you want to say thank you by tipping me, I would never say no to that. You're welcome to do this. There is a link in the description of this video. You can use it. It's a PayPal link. Just click on there and you can add any tip that you would like. No tip is too big or too small. We really, really appreciate all the tips. They help us to make more videos like this for you. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in comments. We do check comments. You may not get a response within minutes or even an hour or so, but you will get a response within a day or two. We do check comments and we will try to help you if you have any questions or if you're stuck on any point. But you can also always email us. We're trying to help everyone who emails us right away. We do check our emails immediately, so you should be getting a response fairly soon if you email instead. But yes, thank you all for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, guys.